Hi, I'm Marie Elizabeth Molly, and this is Relationship Alchemy. Today, we're going to be talking about keys to continuing to grow in your relationships. After over 30 years of pursuing personal growth work, I've noticed some deep truths about the process of growth that I want to share with you today. Reason being, I want to save you time. I want to show you the most effective ways to pursue your growth and really help you have more significant change in your relationship with yourself, as well as your relationships with others, for the better. So the first key is to keep in mind that change doesn't happen in an atmosphere of shame. We tend to initiate a process of growth and change because we feel bad about something, because we feel like there's something wrong with us that we need to fix. And while that's a common reason to get started, it actually isn't a great position from which to pursue actual change. Why? Because being ashamed about some aspect of yourself and trying to change to get away from shame keeps you locked in a relationship with it. Anything that you are actively grasping to or pushing away keeps you locked. So if you find yourself wanting to change something about how you show up in relationships, the first thing is to work with your shame. That's the first thing you got to work on before anything else. And that leads us to the second key, which is acceptance is the root of being able to make new choices. Carl Jung said, we cannot change anything unless we accept it. So the first two keys go very well together. So if you're wanting to change something about yourself or your relationships and how you show up in relationships in particular, the first thing to do is to come into acceptance of where you are now. You can accept yourself as a foundational principle, even as you recognize that there are areas that you want to improve, areas you want to grow, areas that you could be more skillful and more effective. But instead of trying to make those changes from shame, which keeps you locked in shame, instead work to release shame, come into acceptance, and then that sets you up to make new choices that actually bring you in the direction you want to go. The third key is that your ego will grasp at anything to prop itself up. So that as you start making changes and starting to feel better or successfully doing this new skill that you want to do, the tendency will be for your ego to grasp onto this new change you've made as its new identity. And it'll use that as a way to have itself feel superior. Now, I'm not down on the ego. We need egos. You can't drive a car without an ego. You can't balance your checkbook without an ego. Gotta have an ego, and you need to know when it's operating for you and when it's a problem, when it's biting you in the ass. And this instance of your ego tending to co-opt your personal or spiritual growth to prop up its own identity, that it's because the function of the ego is to create identity, you'll notice it operating when you hear yourself thinking things like, oh, well, they're not doing the work. I'm doing the work. They're not doing the work. Oh, I'm functioning better in this situation because I'm doing the work and they're not. So you hear that there's a kind of one up, one down thing happening. There's judgment happening. And as long as there's judgment happening, you can be sure that you're in ego. So watch out for that. As you successfully grow, as you successfully make changes in your life, watch out for the tendency of your ego to grasp onto those changes as a way to feel good. Nothing wrong with feeling good about your success, but as soon as you start feeling good about your success in making changes in relation to somebody else, in other words, you get into comparison or competition, that's your cue that you're in ego and you need to disengage from that so that you can keep growing. Because anytime you lock onto a fixed identity, even if it's a better identity than the one you have now, you're still stuck in the ego. Hate to break it to you. And this is not to say that if you're doing the work and you're in a relationship with someone who's not, that you won't outgrow them because you just might. But the point is not to prop yourself up and feel better about them because you're doing the work. The point is to notice, can we still connect? Do we still fit? Is this still right for me? Is being someone who values growth in relationship with someone who isn't growing, is that aligned? Sadly, sometimes it's not. And the form of the relationship has to shift. But it doesn't shift because you feel better about them. It shifts because you've grown apart, or you've grown out of them, or it's just no longer a good fit. Very different. The fourth key to remember as you're growing in your relationships is that growth happens in a spiral. We love to think that we've handled a particular issue. Oh, I've done that. I've moved through that. It's gone. It's done. Sorry, folks. Never done. And old issues will tend to resurface again and again in new situations, especially when we get triggered. We'll find ourselves revisiting an old mental loop or an old sensation or an old worry, precisely because our nervous system has reverted to a less functional state. Like we're triggered, we're upset, we're scared, we're challenged in some way. And those old issues will resurface again. Now, this is not an occasion to feel bad about yourself or like your growth wasn't real. It's an occasion to recognize, oh, wow, I'm hitting this rung of the spiral again. And it's an opportunity for me to demonstrate to myself that I'm in a different relationship to this issue than I was the last time. Because if you're growing, you will be. You'll see it more quickly. You won't get caught in it for as long. You will be able to release it more quickly. All different evidence of growth with respect to this particular issue. So the gauge of success is not that your shit never comes up. It's how do you handle it when it does, and can you be in a new relationship to it and move through it more quickly or with less suffering than before? Can you be gentler with yourself? Gentleness with yourself and kindness are both evidence of growth. If you're beating yourself up, then that's a place to put your attention. And the last key I'm going to talk about today is that the goal isn't perfection. There's no such thing. The goal is presence and awareness. How present can you be in your relationships in the up and the down? How present and aware can you be in life when it goes sideways? Can you stay kind, generous, loving, present, give grace, ask for grace from others for your foibles? Can you have wit and levity in the midst of life's shenanigans, as I like to call them, life's challenges? All of those kinds of qualities where you are able to respond to life with more presence and awareness, those are the evidence of growth. There's no mythical state of perfection for you to get to where you will never have to feel upset again. That's just not real. If you're in a human body, living a human life, you're gonna get upset sometimes. Life's gonna whack you out sometimes. What do you do when that happens? That's the key. That's where presence and awareness and the work to cultivate both are key. Or the work is key. I caught myself. I did a little grammatical thing. My grammar nerd was like, wait. What are you saying? So this has been Keys to Continuing to Grow in Your Relationships. I'm Marie Elizabeth Mali, your relationship alchemist. I help folks get what they want out of their relationships and create relationships that help them grow and expand in their lives. For more information, go to relationshipalchemy.com, and I recommend that you take my assessment. I have an assessment for partner people and another one for single people that shows you really quickly where you're at, what's working well, and where you need to put your attention and focus to improve. It's so helpful. Awareness is the first step to change. So if you're wanting to change anything, get the awareness first with my assessment, which you can find on the homepage at relationshipalchemy.com, and then put your attention on the things that you want to improve, remembering the 5 keys that we've talked about today. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to like and follow and subscribe. And until next time, remember that a great relationship starts with you.